Hello viewers, I'm going to share you with a PMP model question. We got new agile format, some model question. Now I'm going to share with this question with this explanation. With the very first question, the question is during a meeting, two attendees being debating the facts of a major topic of the last meeting. More participants join in and begin arguing. The debate escalates and conversation veer further and further from the prepared agenda. To avoid further discord, you announce the remaining agenda item will be discussed at the next meeting and abruptly end the meeting. What should you have done differently to have a better outcomes in this situation? Actually, this question is about the meeting and management of meeting. If you see the scenario of this question, there are the answer options: is better meeting management skills, network more before project execution has begun, used body language to express your frustration, recorded any actions to be taken and the action owner. Actually, it's about all meeting management, and other answers like language is body language to express your frustration. There's not you can answer. It will actually disrupt your team member, and the meeting is going to actually you're going to discuss with your team members and to have a better solution and to have a better understanding with this team member. So actually this is all about them. You need to get a good outcome from a meeting. To get this outcome of meeting, you have to use better meeting management skills. So the answer is use better meeting management skills. Actually, project meetings allow project managers and team members the opportunity to utilize several tools and techniques within the interpersonal and team skills group. This question requires the knowledge of the proper application of meeting management skills, such as taking necessary steps to ensure meetings are effective and efficient and that they meet the intended objective. Next question. You are in charge of a large project to install 5G internet hubs across your country. Although most of the project variables are clear and can be managed using the waterfall approach, here the waterfall approach is a normal or plan-driven approach. Technical aspects are not fully defined and will be elaborated as the project progresses. The sponsor requires that project information will be communicated more frequently and quickly. To address the sponsor request, you will use all of the following. Expect. Actually, this question is all about the sponsor's request address. What you have to do. And the options are holding frequent teams checkpoints, conducting regular stakeholder reviews, implementing information radiators, communicating project status weekly. And the answer is communicating project status quickly. You have to do all the works except communicating project status quickly. And the scenario describes a project with mainly stable and known upfront elements, allowing the project manager to apply a waterfall project management approach. Technical aspects of the project, on the other hand, are not yet fully defined and will be elaborated as the project progresses. This implies some agile practices will be required to manage these unclear aspects, resulting in an overall hybrid project management approach. Project environments subject to various elements of ambiguity and change have an inherent need to communicate evolving and emerging details more frequently and quickly. In such environments, project managers should encourage frequent team checkpoints, the use of information radiators, and holding regular stakeholder reviews. While it is unclear whether sending the project reports on a weekly basis considered by the sponsors to be frequent enough, The incorrect answer choices describe agile communication practices that would support the need for frequent and quick communication of project information. Sending the project report on a weekly basis is the only choice that stands out as non-agile and therefore will likely be an exception to your selection of tools and techniques, making this choice the best answer to the question asked. Next question. You are aware that cost and schedule risk are prevalent in your project. You want to compare the planned project performance with its actual performance during the monitor risk process. What should you perform to provide this information? The options are reserve analysis, technical performance analysis, risk reassessment, risk audit. It's all about cost and schedule, and the answer is technical performance analysis. Technical performance analysis is a tool and technique of the monitor risk process is used to evaluate the differential between planned and actual cost, schedule, and performance criteria. Several statistical techniques such as arm value technique are used to analyze these variances. Next question. You are managing a project to build 100 site towers and you have just completed building the 50th tower. To mark the successful completion of this first significant milestone, you hold a celebration where you share the developments, challenges, and lessons learned so far on the project. In what process will you use this information and knowledge gained so far to improve the future performance of the project? And the options are control quality, perform continuous improvement, manage quality, direct and manage project work. Answer is direct and manage project work. This scenario showcases the iterative nature of a project. Work performance data collected during project execution is transferred into work performance information and is used as an input to the monitor and control project work process, which provides feedback into the lesson learned register. The lessons learned from which the project can benefit are then translated into change requests, which are subsequently implemented in the direct and managed project work process to improve the future performance of the project. You are using the celebration of the first milestone to reflect on the lessons learned to date and to highlight how to incorporate them into the remainder of the project. Therefore, it is the direct and managed project work process where information and knowledge gained throughout the project will be used to improve the future performance of the project. Next question. A team of efficiency experts hired by your company has concluded that the transportation costs associated with your project are excessive. You have been requested by the sponsor to cut the cost. What, your, what is your best course of actions? The options are perform a root cause analysis, conduct a cost reduction analysis, carry out a trend analysis, use a decision tree analysis. And the answer is perform a root cause analysis. A root cause analysis can assist in identifying the root causes of a problem and solutions for change. In this scenario, it seems as if transportation expenses are the highest cost. Therefore, starting with the analysis of the expense makes the most sense. By using root cause analysis, the underlying reasons for the high expense can be determined and a solution can be identified. Next question. The atmosphere is tense in the sprint planning review. The agile team members are visibly unhappy. One of them kicks a chair and shouts at the product owner. That just does not make sense. Which two actions should the project manager take in this situation? Choose two. We have to choose two answer. And the options are remind the team of the product owner responsibilities and authority. Calm all present by asking them to call on their emotion intelligence. Intervenes giving one uninterrupted minute to each person present to state their case, reprimand the member who kicked the chair with a warning, facilitate by asking the team to suggest ways to resolve the points of dispute. And the options are and the answers are intervene, giving one uninterrupted minute to each person present to state their case. Facilitate by asking the team to suggest ways to resolve the points of dispute. Explanation: the project manager is addressing the conflict with a collaborative problem approach. First, ensuring all viewpoints are expressed and then inviting suggestions on how to resolve the dispute. If you remind the team about one person authority and or reprimand the protesting member, you are using a forced direct approach which is not compatible with agile principles and which is in any case a last resort. On the other hand, if you only come off placate, then you may not reach a decision, which is the goal. Next question. You are working as a project manager for a high yield crop development project. Data from the weather agency shows an unfavorable weather pattern for the next few months. As a scenario project manager, you want to assess the schedule's feasibility under adverse conditions and provide some insights to your team. That way, your team can prepare some reserves and plan risk responses if unfavorable conditions exist during execution. Which of the following techniques should you use to simulate risk and other sources of uncertainty to calculate possible schedule outcomes? Options are variance analysis, Monte Carlo analysis, crashing, Pareto charts, and the answer is Pareto charts. What is Pareto charts? Modeling techniques are used to prepare a schedule under various scenarios. These techniques help assess the feasibility of the project schedule if adverse conditions exist. The Monte Carlo techniques employs simulation to calculate multiple project duration, each with a different set of activity assumptions using a probability distribution. Next question. As the project progresses, you notice that controlling the schedule becomes more and more challenging. The variance between the schedule baseline and actual project performance challenge with each completed iteration. You realize that the traditional methods you are using to control the schedule are not well suited for the way the product is developed. Which of the following practices should you avoid for the remainder of the project? Options are reprioritizing the backlog, conducting retrospective, determining the velocity, evaluating the critical path. And the answer is evaluating the critical path. And we know the critical path is the shortest path to gain a goal or the complete the project. The scenario implies you are leading a hybrid project in which the product is being built in iteratively while the schedule is controlled using the schedule baseline. This situation can happen when the performing organization is not mature enough with its project management approach. For example, the organization uses tools and techniques that are incompatible with the project processes, incorrectly tailors processes to a project, or implements any other combination of tools or techniques that is inconsistent with the selected development approach or project lifecycle. The critical path method is one of the tools and techniques that can be used as part of the control schedule process implied by the scenario. However, this method is mainly applicable to projects that are managed using predictive approaches. With this technique, the project's progress is compared along the critical path to determine the schedule status. A variance between the actual performance and the baseline will have a direct impact on the project end date. When agile approaches are used, that is when the product is developed using iterations as described in the scenario, The control schedule process may include backlog reprioritization, iteration, retrospectives, velocity calculation, etc. Evaluating the variance between the schedule baseline and the critical path would not be useful for agile practices and therefore should be avoided. Next question. A project manager oversees a team consisting of a business analyst and their software developers. The team released a prototype to the customers for review and just finished gathering new requirements for the next project iteration. After reviewing the requirements documentation, the project manager discovers that some of the requirements were never documented. In this scenario, who would be the person responsible for the gathering and documenting business requirement? Options are the customer, the project manager, the developers, and the business analyst. Option is the business analyst. Explanation on projects that have an assigned business analyst. Eliciting, documenting, and managing stakeholder requirements is the responsibility of that role. The business analyst has the unique skill set and expertise to do the requirements related work, whereas the senior programmers would like be the responsible for executing project deliverables to meet the business requirements. The project manager may work closely with the business analyst, especially on such a small project team, but is focused on overseeing the requirements management process and its integration with the overall project. The project manager in this scenario is fulfilling that responsibility by reviewing the requirements documentation, but it is the business analyst who is responsible for gathering and documenting the business requirements. Next question. A company is struggling to define the scope of a new project that has multiple phases with a high level of dependency between the phases. How should the project manager approach the challenge? Options are contract with a third-party consultant that specialize in helping business define scope of work on large projects. Work with project stakeholders to recommend an iterative approach that will then help to define the project scope. Review the project management plan to ensure that it provides extra time within the schedule, then revise the scope of work. Move forward with the project but keep a daily check on the schedule to prioritize the dependency issues. And the answer is work with project stakeholders to recommend an iterative approach that will then help to define the project scope. A corrective action such as the iterative approach is required here. Introducing adaptive steps in a heavily predictive environment is never easy and the stakeholders should be involved in this process. That's all from today.